Welcome to the Elevate Your Brand podcast, where we help online coaches learn how to elevate their brand, become the experts in their industries so they can bring in more clients and create a life they want. I am your host, Chris Anderson. And if you want to make a difference in the lives of others, share this episode, go over to Apple Podcasts and follow us there to leave a positive rating and review. And together we can leave a bigger positive mark on the world. All right, welcome back to a mini episode of Elevate Your Brand. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. Going to dive into it today. We're going to be talking about the controversial. Should you or should you not monetize your podcast? Now, I know there's two camps on this, and I believe everyone would be in the same camp if they could do it. Because why would you not monetize your show? I think if it's more than a hobby, then you should be focusing on trying to monetize your show some way. I don't see any point not to. Now, that could look different than what you're thinking. So if you think you should monetize your show, listen up. I'm going to show you the best ways to monetize your show. And if you don't think you should monetize your show, move on. Or you can listen in and maybe we can change your perspective. Because I think my way of monetizing is different than what you think. And yes, it's possible to monetize your show from the get-go. You can monetize your podcast right out of the gate if you understand how and understand what kind of tool it is moving forward. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's dive in. All right. So you're probably thinking, Chris, you're full of it. You're full of BS. I can't monetize my show right out of the gate. I have no following and nobody listening. No one's going to pay to sponsor my show. And you're probably right. There are people out there that say you could get big sponsorship deals right out of the gate. You don't need a following. And I'm a little leery of those. Because from my perspective as a business, if someone approached me wanting me to pay to be on their show, unless it was a very specific niche, if they don't have a big audience, it's not worth my dollars because I could probably pay less to do a Facebook ad and get in front of more of the right people. So coming out of the gate, sponsorships is probably not going to be your best bet. But at the end, I'm going to show you what your best move will be to monetize your podcast right out of the gate. So stay tuned to the very last one. There are 4 ways you can monetize, and the last one is probably the one you're going to want to choose. So stay tuned as I dive into these. So the first one, of course, you've heard of sponsorships. Finding sponsors or companies or people to pay for ad spots on your show. You're not Joe Rogan. Very few and far between people have the downloads, the audience that is going to make it worth for businesses to pay. Again, like I said, unless you're a super hyper local show, so very close-knit in your city, or have a very niche audience, sponsorships are a little bit harder to come by. So you might be wasting too much of your time trying to find sponsorships when you can do some of these others. So sponsorships, obviously that's the one everyone thinks of. And it's probably the one you want to spend the least amount of time trying to implement into your show to monetize. Okay. So what's the next one? The next way to go about monetizing your podcast is through affiliate links. So this is a pretty easy and low a ceiling to get into. It could be where you're using a mail system, a CRM system, a different software that has an affiliate program where someone uses your link, signs up, and then you get kickback, whether it be maybe a $20 Amazon gift card or 10% or whatever it is. You can plug those things into your show as quote unquote ads and share about that. And if someone goes through, clicks your link in your show notes and signs up, then you'll get the compensation. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good way to just plug it in and have it there as you grow going forward. But again, it's going to be a very low threshold starting out if you don't have a big audience, if you're just trying to build something from the ground up. It's great to have and implement because it can grow with you. And as your audience grows, they can go back and they're going to see those links. So it's a great foundation piece to have in place. And it's simple. Again, it's very low investment and it just sits there. So you just have to share about it. So affiliate programs, affiliate links, those are good to at least have built into your structure of your show. That way you can kind of almost collect some low-hanging fruit of people who are interested in software and in programs that you already use. So that's the second. The third is having a membership/pay ceiling to get into. So that's where maybe you have specific guests or episodes that only those who pay X amount a month get to hear and listen to. And this is a good method as well, especially if you have a decent audience already built. Say maybe you have a Facebook group or a Discord or something like that, and now you're implementing a podcast to give more value to those individuals. Say, hey, I know you're getting a great value from all this free stuff we've been giving out. We're going to continue that with our podcast. But if you want even more value for a very low investment, $49 a month,
you get to have all these exclusive episodes and resources and whatever it is, however you build it out. And that can add up. And that could be a good structure to use through your show as like a platform for that kind of that paywall, that tiered system. And you could just have one, have your Mozzie Nation, and then have your next level gold members or whatever it is, paying just a little bit amount. And again, that adds up as you grow, and just offer exclusive content, behind the scenes, resources, Q&As, whatever it is, whatever works for you in your schedule, you can build that out through your podcast. So that's the third way, especially starting out. That might be one that's simple to create for you and implement, grows along with you. All right, we're getting into it now. The fourth and final, and I think the most important way to monetize your podcast, especially straight out of the gate, right from the start. Okay, so this is the one you're going to want to focus on. If you're just starting out, unless you have a big following already, and even if you do, you still want to utilize this one. This is the one for anyone and everyone. This is having your podcast be the gate to your product or service. This is how I built Elevate. This is how we've hit 6 figures in revenue in a year. Okay, this works. You just use the podcast to open up the door to possible clients. What do you mean, Chris? What do you mean by that? We did. And if this could work for you, great. We interview guests. Those guests are our target market. We have a conversation with that guest about their topic to share. And now we're warmed up. Now the door is open for conversations. Chris, what do you do with your business? Oh, I do this. It's cool. Yeah. If you ever want to have that conversation, let's do it. It just opens the door. That's where our clients have either come through the podcast that way or referrals from someone who's already a client. That's why this is so crucial. Just use this as a gateway to more clients. Either interview them or make the show directed directly towards your audience and just talk about your thing. Make your own ad for it. Doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. It could just be during the episode you share about it. Share a story about a client testimony or a win. Just make it flow within the episode, and people are going to get interested, and it's going to show your credibility. One of our clients, man, they swear to this. He said, this is the reason I'm getting clients. It's because they hear my podcast, and that's why business has grown. People are coming to my podcast, he said, and they said, we choose you over the other coach because we heard your podcast. We heard you speak. We heard your credibility. You built credibility with us and trust through your podcast by us listening. That's why we went with you. So it has increased his business just by putting out episodes. So that is the most important piece and the best way to monetize your podcast. Use it as the doorway. Get your foot in the door with a lot of people. And that's how we work with Incorporated 500 companies. That's how we work with huge brands, huge influencers. That's how the podcast opened the door to have those conversations. And then we just showed them the value, and there it was. So there's multiple ways to do it. And as you grow, of course, once you get big, start thinking about sponsorships. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't think out of the gate, you're going to be the next Joe Rogan having 5, 10K months from sponsorships. Very unlikely. I hate to burst your bubble. And those who say you can do that, again, unless you're a super hyper local show or super niche down, it's very unlikely. So spend your time and energy building something that's going to provide revenue faster through your show. All right. I hope you can take something away from this today. The 4 ways to monetize your podcast and the best way to do it straight out of the gate. Again, I'm always here for you. I'm taking questions. I answer them in the DM, Instagram at chris.t.anderson. Hit me up on there. I'm always open to questions. It'll help me even come up with more content to put out there for y'all. Take this, run with it, start monetizing your podcast. It's not too early. It's never too late. So I hope you can take something away today, and I hope you take action. That's the most crucial thing. All right. Until next time, continue to elevate everything you're doing, and we'll talk to you soon. And thanks so much for tuning into this episode today. If you found value at all from this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It just helps us get this show, these messages out in front of more people. And don't forget to share this with someone who you think could benefit from listening to as well.